Today I'm going to walk you through how I came up with the beat for the song Messiah, my first single, with Alison Wonderland. The original concept was just some piano chords through Omnisphere, so let me just play them quickly. So I was like, cool, came up with those chords, liked them. Second thing I did is I pulled an a cappella off a song. Sometimes I'll do this, I'll put an a cappella over some chords and make it in the key of the chords I'm working with. And basically it's a way for me to gauge whether the chords keep my interest.
And I don't know where I'm going, but I know it's gonna be a long time.
It's just a way to sort of, get your head around the chords and see if they work in the context of the song. So I was happy with that, which led me to the bass line in the chorus. I'll quickly play what I did. So that was the bass tone. That came from a plugin called Reactor Razor, which I'm a huge fan of. I use this quite often. It's just really a really good synth to get really weird, unique sort of tones. So I don't know, I really like the sound of it. It has like a futuristic sort of buzziness to it, which I really like. But I also wanted like a more subby bass to hold the low end and make the low end more solid. So that's where Omnisphere came in and played this underneath it. And that's just an Omnisphere patch called Digital Glory. So that sort of holds the low end together. As far as processing on the bass, on the Reactor bass, I've got a little bit of Devil Lock, which is a Soundtoys plugin that I'm a huge fan of. Bit of isotope, dynamics, basically evening out the dynamics of the bass. Track space, so this is an interesting plugin. This is basically, you can sidechain EQ to another channel and have the frequencies that are clashing. You can have whatever the track space track it's on, it'll duck those frequencies. So it'll basically clear out some space for that track to sort of sit in, that channel to sit in. Some more basic sort of dynamics after that with Pro C, some compression, and then some EQ. And I've actually cut out a lot of the sub in this bass tone just to make way for that subbiness of the Omnisphere patch. So if you play them together, you get the buzziness and the cool tone or whatever from the Reactor synth, but then you also get a really solid sort of foundation with the subby bass. So that was sort of the idea behind the bass line of the song. All right, so bass line done, chords done. I'm happy with everything. So I want to move on to the drums. I'll just play the drums together for now. I really wanted to sort of use sounds that weren't typical in this sort of song. So not the typical 808 or trap sort of sounds. I wanted something a little bit more unique. So I'll show you the snare. It's almost like an industrial sound. It sounds like someone dropping something or clanging some pieces of metal together. And for the drums, I use this program called Phalanx, and basically you can put drums on different slots, but it has really cool processing as well. So inside Phalanx, I actually have some processing. I have some reverb. So that's without the reverb. That's with the reverb. And then some compression. I think compression really sort of brings up a lot of the tail. And after that, just on the Cubase channel, I have some low cut happening, and I'm cutting a little bit out of the 3 kilohertz area. Another notable sound within the drums is this sort of rattling bongo thing. And that just came from a sample pack. I went into Phalanx and found the pitch where it sort of, worked with the track. So. And I didn't even do any processing to that. That's just how it sounded, and it sounded good, so I didn't want to mess with it. Halfway through the drop, there's a vocal sample that comes in. And it's just like a Yeah sample. I think I sort of got the idea of Lorde. I think it's her tennis court song or team or something. One of her songs has like a really low sort of Yeah sample, and they pitch her voice down. I really liked that, and I was like, you know what? Let me just mimic that. So halfway through the drop, but I wanted like I heard this, kept hearing this melody in my head, and I was sort of humming it along to myself. Unfortunately, I have a terrible singing voice. So I actually got my manager's girlfriend, Chelsea, to come in and lay some vocals down. And so I got her to sing this. And that's pitched up. So let me see if I can bring it down a bit. I actually slowed the whole song down and got her to sing over the slowed down version of the song. And then I pitched the song up, I pitched the vocal up to what the original tempo and pitch of the song was. So anyway, so I've got her to double track that. And then just some pretty drastic EQ, low cut, a little bit of sort of dips in the sort of low and the mids and the highs. And then I ran it through speakerphone, which I'm a huge fan of. I got it running it through like a turntable speaker, and then some distortion and some more EQ, and then actually use Reactor for its effects as well as an effect insert, and I actually found this effect called Electronic Instruments Volume 1 NFX Distortion, and I think someone just made it. I found it on the Native Instruments Reactor community message board or whatever. Someone posted it, and it just adds this really sort of rumbly distortion. It sort of just dirties it up some more. So and then I added some more EQ just to cut out more of that low information. So basically, what I'll do with a vocal when I'm recording, I'll get like a million takes of every phrase, and then I'll comp, which means you're choosing the best bits and you're piecing it together to make one vocal. So I'll do that first, bounce that, take it over to Melodyne, which is a vocal tuning and processing program, and I'll make sort of adjustments to the pitch by hand. I find Melodyne's a lot more natural than auto-tune. So this is after Melodyne without any processing on the actual vocal itself.
Running up a hill you can't see over, all the gravel standing at your feet. Miss the way you see me when you're sober, wish you saw the middle where we meet.
So what I'll usually do is put some processing on the vocal track, the vocal channel itself, and then send that vocal channel to a bus where I'll process it even further. So on the actual vocal channel, the lead vocal channel, I've got some EQ, just rolling off some of the low end, and a bit of sort of surgical EQ up the top there. It must have been a frequency I didn't like up there. Then I run it through auto-tune. Auto-tune is not doing anything. It's basically giving the song a tone. I find like pop music, it's almost standard that everyone has auto-tune on it, and it gives it a certain sort of tone, the vocal a certain tone. So in this track, I've actually used a lot of vocal effect sends, lots of reverbs, lots of delays. So I'll go through a few of them.
Running up a hill you can't see over, all the gravel standing.
So Altiverb is a plugin that I really like and I really use a lot. It's a reverb plugin, and it uses impulse responses to mimic actual spaces, so you can actually get the sound. This one's called Vredenburg Hall 2, and I guess it's like a music hall, a concert hall. But as you can see, like you can basically get, all of these different spaces and really just sort of put your sound in that space, and it's really cool. So I'll send the signal to this channel, I'll put some reverb on it, but maybe before the reverb, I'll even out the signal with some compression, so the reverb's not getting loud spikes of audio to where the reverb might wash out and sort of overshadow the song. So some compression just to even out the signal going into the reverb. This is another little trick. This is basically adding what we call like a pre-delay. So I put a delay before the reverb, and it just pushes the vocal a little bit later, so the reverb happens a little later. And with Echo Boy, you're actually getting a little bit of coloration as well to the signal, so that could sort of make the reverb have a little bit more of a distinct tone. So that's all going into Altiverb. Some more compression just to even out the output, and that's sort of it. And then some EQ, so cutting off some of the lows and also the highs.
Running up a hill you can't see over, all the gravel standing at your feet. Miss the way you see me when you're sober, wish you saw the middle where we meet, 'cause we don't need words to...
So that's just a lexicon, and I've got a bit of de-essing going in before that, so the S's don't sort of get reverberated, I guess. This is just an echo break.
Running up a hill you can't see over, all the gravel standing at your feet. Miss the way you see me.
Delay. It's pretty dull. I've done a lot of saturation on it, and this is just a slap delay actually. So it's quite a short delay, just to add a little bit of sort of space around the vocal. One thing that I try and add to a lot of my songs is a live instrument of some sort. I find that, first of all, they're really hard to recreate, especially guitars. Very hard to recreate, and just the human element of a person playing an instrument can just add a lot of life to a song. So, in the pre-chorus, there's actually some electric guitars. This is played by a good friend of mine, Sean Windsor, aka S-Dub. I basically didn't want you to hear them. I wanted them to sort of add a texture as opposed to sort of being an element of the song. And then in the drop, this is something that sort of does surprise a lot of people. There's actually an acoustic guitar. It's actually more of a percussive element rather than a musical element. It's you can barely make the chords out. It is playing the chords or the bass note of the chorus, but it's actually the strumming of the strings is what's giving it its presence, and it almost sounds like a shaker or some sort of percussive element. And shout outs to S-Dub for nailing that. And then I went into this like extended outro, and I actually had my friend Siobhan put down some sort of haunting, creepy, spooky, like choir-esque vocals. And then I went off onto this like elaborate outro, and I used them in the video clip, and I might also use them as some sort of interlude or extended outro on the album version of the song, because I think they're amazing and she's great. So, I went over to Dan Hume's studio, who's an amazing Melbourne producer, songwriter, and he helped me with the arrangement and basically sort of fit it into a format that would work on the radio, and people could sort of listen to it and not get bored of. So that's my song Messiah with Alison Wonderland. Hope you enjoyed it. And go cop Messiah on iTunes if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.